Dinner for 12. Success in life is a matter not so much of talent or opportunity as of concentration and perseverance. C. W. Went. Mr. and Mrs. C wanted to buy a home in Pacific Palisades, overlooking the ocean near Los Angeles, and Mr. C gave his wife a figure beyond which he was unwilling to pay. Driving around the area where they wanted to live, she searched amongst the many handsome homes for one with a for sale sign which would meet their requirements. Her vision was clearly detailed. She wanted 4 or 5 bedrooms with as many baths, a large living room and large separate dining room, another sitting room for game tables, television and wet bar. In addition, she wanted a large front and back garden with trees and flowers, a bright roomy kitchen, butler's pantry, service porch, laundry room, maid's quarters, at least a 3-car garage and ample guest parking. But most of all, she wanted all the rooms to have an ocean view. Her husband thought her long list of specifications was surely non-existent. In no way, he thought, would she ever find already built such a precisely self-designed house. Several times, Mrs. C passed by what appeared to be just such a house, except that she felt it unlikely that all the rooms had an ocean view. She did not ask to see its interior. One day, passing the house with a friend, she pointed it out and remarked what a pity that it was surely missing the ocean view that was so important to her. Her friend disagreed, felt that most of the rooms would have such a view, and she urged Mrs. C to ask to be shown the house. Upon seeing it, she and her husband both fell in love with it at once and felt that it was truly their house. But when they were told the price, Mr. C found it greatly exaggerated and refused to even to consider the purchase. In fact, he left the following day for business affairs in the East and told his wife to forget about the house and look for another within the price range he had specified. But Mrs. C had already imprinted in her subconscious a house with its precise features, and she knew that this was equivalent to finding the proverbial needle in the haystack. She was not ready to abandon her dream so quickly, but, respecting and adoring her husband, neither would she disturb his peace of mind. He had made a generous offer and it was rejected. She could not ask more of him. So she drove him to the airport and said a smiling and loving goodbye. Now she knew that if it's to be, it's up to me. And as she drove back home, she made a decision. She would mentally live in that house and practice believing that all parties concerned were happy with the outcome. Having young children and the many distractions of family life, she felt the need to be mostly alone in order to concentrate on her project, instructing her housekeeper that except for meals with the children and at their bedtime, she did not wish to be disturbed. Mrs. C stayed in bed for 3 days and nights. She had never confronted such an impasse and knew of no other way to sustain her focused attention on living in the house. She knew that it would require all her creative forces if she were to break the spell and reverse the seemingly impossible deadlock. Not knowing quite how to go about it, her thoughts ranged over a suitable plan. At last it occurred to her to give a dinner party in the new house. She would invite several friends who would be especially happy about the purchase, and it would be an evening of joy and delight. In her creative imagination, all the family activity occurred in that house. From there, she planned the dinner party, invited the guests, and composed the dialogue of their bright conversations. Gathering flowers from the garden, she made several large floral arrangements to enhance its beauty. Again and again, she rehearsed every aspect of the evening. Repeatedly, she heard her husband express his pleasure over the mutually satisfying agreement, including their 2 young sons, aged 10 and 12, in the celebration of their new home. She rehearsed them, as always, in the proper behavior of dining with adults, coaching each one with a funny story that he could tell at the table when she gave the signal. During all her waking hours, Mrs. C remained concentrated upon some aspect of their happy life in their new home. When she joined her sons for meals and at their bedtime, she pretended that it was all occurring in her dream house. And when she went to bed, she lay her head on the pillow in the lovely bedroom of the new home and thought of her actual location in its relative direction. After 3 days of concentration in her bedroom, she resumed her usual habits with the children, but sustained her inner vision. As she drove about in the car, she practiced feeling that she was leaving and returning to the new place. It was the foundation upon which all else occurred. Several days later, her husband returned from the East Coast and asked if she had found another house. Answering no, she showed no emotion and turned to something else, but continued to experience its realization. Within the week, the impasse resolved itself, and 1 month later, Mrs. C, radiant with joy, gave her dinner party for 12 in the house of her dreams. There is a key to every door. That key is persistence. A. B. Zuttervern. End of this chapter.